Happy Buddha Day, and thank you all for being here. It's such a joy to see so many children in the temple this morning. The children are a great source of joy and blessings, and so parents and grandparents, thank you for bringing them to the temple to celebrate and honor the birth of the Buddha Shakyamuni. At Daifukuji, Hanamatsuri or Buddha Day is also time to celebrate the arrival of spring with the season's evening rains and blooming flowers. As you can see, this beautiful Hanamido. Hanamido means something like a flower shrine, which was decorated yesterday by Avis and Ryan and others. We really thank them, and we thank all those who contributed beautiful flowers from their gardens and brought them to the temple for this, the creation of this Hanamido. I'd like to talk about the custom of Hanamatsuri. I'm going to read something from our Hawaii Association of International Buddha Day program. This custom originally was practiced by the Brahmins in India. They used to pour perfumes and other sweet-smelling liquids as blessings. Later, the Buddhists adopted this custom to be used at Hanamatsuri or Buddha Day celebrations to bless the infant Buddha. A legend tells us that a dragon came from the heavens at the time of the birth of the Buddha and poured scented water on the infant Buddha. In China, this custom began about the 4th century. In Japan, it is recorded that the custom began about 606 AD. Nowadays, the infant Buddha is placed in a flower shrine called a Hanamido, and sweet tea is poured instead of scented water. So for the children present today, I'd like to share a story. And for the children present in each one of us, I'd like to share a story. And this story is about the Buddha's childhood. The Buddha's name was Siddharta, and he was a prince. So they called him Prince Siddharta. And this is the story of Prince Siddharta and the Swan. And it is one of my favorite stories. I'd like to share it today. As a child, Prince Siddharta was kind and compassionate. He loved everyone. He was kind and gentle to both people and animals. He often played with his cousin. His cousin's name was Devadatta. And Devadatta was a boy who liked to hunt with his bow and arrow. One day, while they were outside playing, Devadatta spotted a swan, this beautiful swan flying across the sky. And guess what he did? He quickly shot it with his bow and arrow and wounded this beautiful swan, fell out of the sky and dropped to the ground somewhere. The boys set out to look for it, going in different directions. Prince Siddharta found it first, and it was alive, and it was in pain. The kind prince, he gently removed the arrow from the swan, cleaned its wound, dressed it with healing leaves and herbs, and bandaged the wound with a piece of cloth. When Devadatta returned to the palace empty-handed, he grew angry when he saw Siddharta holding this bird in his arms. "Give it to me. I shot it. It's mine," he demanded. But Siddharta held on to the wounded swan. "If you had killed it, maybe it would be yours. But I found it. It was still alive and wounded, and I am taking care of it, so it belongs to me." Devadatta protested. Seeing that this conflict was not going to be resolved between the two of them, Siddharta suggested that they do what adults might do when they can't resolve an argument. So they went to consult the wise elders of their palace court. The boys sought out the wise elders of the palace, and each presented his case. Devadatta said he had shot the swan with his bow and arrow, so it should belong to him. Siddharta, holding the wounded swan, said that he had found it alive and treated its wound, so it belonged to him. What do you think? The wise elders listened and consulted each other. Then it was proclaimed, life above all things is to be cherished. A life cannot belong to one who wishes to destroy it. Thus the swan belongs to Prince Siddharta. The kind prince nursed the swan back to health, then released it so that it could once again live as a wild swan. As Buddhists, we are encouraged to follow the way of life set forth by the Buddha Shakyamuni, a way of life that is based in kindness, compassion, and the honoring of all life. It is not always easy to live in this spirit of loving kindness. As human beings, we can be swept away by unwholesome desires, negative emotions, and unhealthy habits of our body, speech, and mind. But having a healthy, wholesome Sangha like ours can be of great benefit. When one has good, noble friends, when one has a peaceful place of practice such as this temple, when one is accepted by others just as one is, without judgment or criticism, when one receives support and encouragement in practicing the Buddha's teachings, one is truly blessed. The three treasures, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, bless us, guide us, and support us each day of our lives. When I see Dharma friends like all of you coming to the temple and bringing the children to hear and practice the way of life set forth by the Buddha Shakyamuni, it brings me great joy and hope. It brings me great joy and hope to see everyone aspiring to create a brighter, more peaceful world, sharing so much aloha and kindness. One child, a prince named Siddharta Gautama, who lived 2,600 years ago, grew up, embarked on a spiritual quest, became a Buddha, the enlightened one, a flower of humanity, a lotus of peace. We bow to the Buddha on this occasion of his birth. Thank you all for being here to celebrate this beautiful Hanamatsuri together with me and the members of our Sangha. Namu Kie Butsu, Namu Kie Ho, Namu Kie So. We take refuge in the Buddha, we take refuge in the Dharma, we take refuge in the Sangha. Namu Shakyamuni Butsu, Namu Shakyamuni Butsu, Namu Shakyamuni Butsu. Homage to Shakyamuni Buddha.